Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another No Man's Sky video. And yes, Expedition 3 is available right now on all platforms. It literally just started. I was able to complete phase 1 and phase 2, so I want to go over a few tips and tricks that will help you along the way, maybe avoid a few mistakes, and also talk about some of the rewards and some really cool info in there as well. So let's jump right into it. Nonetheless, you have about 6 weeks to complete this, so plenty of time to do it several times, but even once is enough. So here is what you need to know. You kind of start on this really toxic planet filled with superstorms that literally try to kill you at every step, and you have to repair your ship. Now the cool part is that for the first time ever we get to start with an exotic max rank right from the very beginning. This was the particular model that I started with, but I think it's different for every other player, so it's a matter of, luck. But there are some intriguing upgrades on it that take a little bit longer to repair compared to regular old ships from our normal playthroughs, which is why you're gonna be stuck with everybody else on this planet for quite some time. So here is one of the first tips that I have for you guys, which is to turn off player damage in the network settings options. Reason for that is because you definitely don't want to get ganked by somebody else or griefed, and it also prevents, somebody else accidentally dealing damage to you when they might be trying to mine something, since everybody is busy with that. And also there's players out there who already got a massive advantage, and you definitely don't want to get griefed by them in case that even happens. At the same time, if you have the opportunity to maybe start the expedition in offline mode, maybe even with the internet turned off, it could be a good solution, because right now a lot of players have built bases really close to spawning points, which means it's gonna be almost impossible for you to mine some of the resource nodes that you need to complete some of the challenges in the track. So this means you have to venture way further away to even find something that is not restricted from mining. Now for the second tip, do yourself a favor and immediately adopt one of these pets when you have the chance. This specific exotic one right here that I also got myself, and the reason for that is because this one is just amazing at traversal, way better than your character in the early stages and maybe even sometime after that. First of all, it's because it has its own stamina bar that depletes way slower than your own. It also traverses environments way better than you, but most important, it's so damn useful against like higher elevation, especially when it comes to these mountains and bigger hills. Like for some reason this creature is going over them like Formula 1, so it's gonna make traversal way better than like you can do it with your character at the start. Also, it gives you some really cool rewards for completing the companionship challenge from the phase 2. So this gives you Fecium, some Gravitino balls, and these are gonna be needed later for some high-end stuff as well. Oh, and by the way, yes, you can absolutely complete achievements and challenges from other phases even though you technically haven't reached them yet, and that's because the game accounts for all of them as you complete them anyway. Now moving on to number 3, one of the early challenges for you in phase 1 is called Foxhole. You essentially just have to enter a cave or create one while there is a storm ongoing to make that pop up, and it gives you some really nice rewards, including the base computer plans and a powerful hazardous upgrade, which by the way will mitigate the incoming damage against your shields from the hazardous environment, so that's quite useful. But even more so if you continue for just a little bit longer and continue to dig a tunnel for another 1000 units more, you will get another challenge track called Fear the Sun from the second portion of the expedition. So this one actually gives you some really awesome personal refiner plans. This is super useful, so you don't have to keep using that portable refiner and keep deploying it. You can just do everything from your inventory screen, but more important, it gives you access to quite a bit of gold, which you might not be able to find otherwise on the planet, since there doesn't seem to be gold deposit on it. So definitely do this early if you get a chance. This brings us to the number 4 tip. This is gonna be around the time you get to start building your base, and the game asks you to build a base using about 15 parts, and you would normally be inclined to just go ahead and build it with anything you have at hand, but hold off to that for now and instead use these small floors or walls to build up whatever you want to. As long as there's 15 of them in total, it's plenty enough. So in my case, instead of using some of the other more complicated and more costly base parts, I just use these small floors, which only cost about 5 ferrite dust each. So that was enough for me to just go ahead and immediately build them and still complete the achievement. This, by the way, will also give you a number of rewards, including the research unit, which you will use later to unlock other base related projects that we will talk about in just a little bit, and about 20 salvage data, enough to afford to buy at least a few from that construction research unit. Moving on to number 5, let's talk about another really interesting tip that will actually set you ahead quite a little bit. And yes, this is technically in phase 2 at the end of it, but you can complete it again way easier and way faster than that. So this is called Mechanical Man, and all you have to do is to build a Minotaur exocraft. So for that, you need about 12 salvage data to first unlock it at the construction research unit that you just got by completing the homecoming challenge. So definitely go ahead and use the salvage data and that you just got from that achievement to unlock it. And from this point on, you only need about a handful of metal platings, the gold that you got from digging the tunnel achievement I talked about earlier, and the iron batteries you got for the first time you entered your ship at the beginning of the expedition. And once you build that Minotaur, it's gonna give you a number of really cool rewards, but most important, it will give you over 500 chromatic metal. There's plenty of early projects that will require chromatic metal that you get by refining copper, and since copper seems to be quite spread out and the deposits sometimes seem to be affected by other people's bases, this is the fastest way to get that chromatic metal needed for you to finish things a little bit faster. So you can start thinking about building a personal refiner, you can start building some of the other stuff, and so on and so forth, and also including this next piece right here. So this is called a quantum computer, and you need it to repair one of your thrusters for your ship. But how do you get that? Well, you actually get it from the achievement track itself as well. As a matter of fact, all of the components needed for the most part to fix your ship and to lift off are acquirable from some of these projects or challenges from the different phases in the expedition. The earliest is the quantum computer, and you actually get it from this achievement right here that requires you to make your base generate about 150 power. So going back at the same computer research unit, go into your industrial modules and only unlock the biofuel reactor into your section right here, because the biofuel reactor is super cheap, only requires a bit of metal plating and oxygen, which is plenty enough around you, and you have to build 3 of these and put a little bit of fuel inside of them. So don't make the same mistake I did. I also bought a solar panel for some reason, which is super difficult to build early on. So that's why I recommend only these 3 biofuel reactors. From that point on, just put a little bit of carbon in each of them to start them up and make them generate some power. That's gonna be 50 per, and from this point on, simply connect them with one wire to another until they're all connected between each other, and that's gonna make your base generate 150 power, which is gonna be enough to complete the power surplus achievement, and that's gonna give you the quantum computer plans. Now, if you have done everything I've told you so far, you should have enough to even build that quantum computer plans, and that should be enough for you to now finish at least repairing the first part of your ship. So just a little bit more to go. Now, as I've said, the rest of them are pretty much in phase 3 right there. Eventually, around phase 4, we will get to lift off from the planet and do something else, but pay close attention to the requirements of some of the other phases, even if you haven't yet reached them. Like, for example, there's a few in there that will require you to scan minerals, to scan fauna and flora. So some of them will also give you the other blueprints or plans for the other parts needed to fix your ship, so definitely pay attention to those requirements, and this is how you're gonna finish that achievement track. And by the way, here is how the first couple of unlocks look like. I managed to unlock the first phase, which gave me the bubble sort of jetpack trail, so it looks something like this. I think it's pretty funny. And also I unlocked one of these base parts from, I believe, phase 2, so now you can actually put one of these minor settlement constructions into your very own base. But this is it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.